Hi everyone, this is a tutorial to talk you through the start of the Fenwick Shawl. Here I have got halfway through row 4. So I've worked the 4 stitches currently on my needle as instructed for row 4, which is slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front and knit 1. What you're going to be doing next is unzipping the provisional cast on that you have at the other end of your work at the moment and adding that to this wrong side row. And this video will show you how to do that. So the first thing to do is to reorientate your left needle. So you're going to bring it around underneath your working needle and bring it parallel to the right needle and pointing in the same direction. That's because in a moment you're going to be unzipping the provisional cast on in this direction and you're going to be using this bottom needle to pick up those stitches as you unzip them. Okay, so I've unzipped my crochet chain till I've reached the provisional cast on. Okay. There's my first stitch popped out, and you're going to be picking up 4 stitches in total here. So there's number 1, if you're nervous about pulling these stitches out before you pick them up, you can actually see where the stitch is while it's still in the provisional cast on. You might prefer to pop your needle through that stitch before pulling on the crochet chain to unzip it, and then you're not kind of trying to chase after stitches that are loose. So that's 2 stitches picked up. There's number 3. And with the last stitch, you will see that it's actually looped through the yarn that you've used for your crochet chain for the provisional cast on. So you can pick that stitch up, that's stitch number 4, and then just pull the scrap yarn out and away. Okay, so now we have the live stitches that you've already worked for the start of row 4 on your top needle, and you have those provisionally cast on stitches now live on your left needle. You're going to reorientate that needle, bring it back around to its normal position on the left, and then you continue to work on this wrong side row. This is still row 4, and you're going to work those stitches that you've just picked up as knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front. And so if I turn around to the right side, what you now have is 8 stitches on your needle. And at the moment it's pretty difficult to see what they are, but what you actually have is the first 3 stitches are at one end of your I-cord edge. You've got 2 stitches in the middle, which will be the body of the shawl, and you've got the other end of your I-cord edge here, another 3 stitches. So on row 5, you're then going to establish how you work the I-cord edge for the right side. So on every right side row, the 3 stitches that form your I-cord edge are worked as a knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, and knit 1. And so every right side row you have, where you come to the I-cord edge, doesn't matter which end it is, that's how you work those stitches. Knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1. You're then going to purl the 2 stitches that are the main body of your shawl, and then you've reached the other end of your I-cord edge and you work it in the same way. Knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1. Okay, turning to the wrong side to work row 6. This establishes the pattern for working the I-cord on the wrong side, which is slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one with yarn in front. So whenever you have the I-cord stitches on the wrong side of your work, that's the pattern you work them in. Slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one with yarn in front. I'm going to knit the 2 stitches in the middle of the shawl, and then I'm back to the I-cord edge again. Slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one with yarn in front. Okay, on to row 7, and from row 7 through to row 24, what we're going to be doing is rapidly increasing into these central stitches that make up the body of the shawl. And by doing these really quick increases, we are going to be opening out this I-cord edge so that it will eventually be straight, horizontal, and that creates a really nice semicircle shape. So you start by working your I-cord edge. This is row 7. And then here, what you're going to be doing is picking up stitches into and between these 2 stitches that are already on your needles. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up and knit into the middle of the stitch 2 rows below, which is there. We're then going to work this stitch. Then we're going to pick up and knit in between the 2 stitches in the middle there, and then we're going to work this stitch. Then we're going to pick up and knit into the middle of that stitch that you've just worked. So you end up picking up and knitting into here in between these stitches and the second stitch as well. And each time you're working sort of 2 rows down from where these current live stitches are. So pick up and knit into the stitch 2 rows below, yarn over, pick up and knit into that same stitch again. So there you've actually increased 3 stitches. Purl the next live stitch on your left needle, and then we're going to pick up and knit again, but this time it's into the space between the stitches. So we're going to go 2 strands below, pick up and knit into that space, yarn over, pick up and knit into that space again. We're going to purl this stitch, and then because we've purled this stitch, we now want to go 3 rows below because we've now worked that stitch already. So we want to go into this stitch 3 rows down from the stitch that you've just worked. So pick up and knit into that stitch, yarn over, pick up and knit into that stitch again. And then we've reached the I-cord edge, so we work it as in pattern for a right side row. Okay, this is row 8, it's a wrong side row, and here we are working the I-cord. And then we're working a pattern of slip 3 with the yarn in front and knit 1. Slip 3 with the yarn in front and knit 1. We slip 3 with the yarn in front, and then we've reached the I-cord edge, so we slip again, knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front. So row 9, we work the I-cord edge. And then you're going to work a make 1 left purled increase. So we're looking to lift the strand between the stitches in order to increase into it. What you will see here is that the strand is perhaps a bit lower down than you would expect it to be normally because these stitches were slipped on the previous row. So the strand is actually here, as you can see. So I'm picking that up from front to back, and then I'm going to be purling that stitch, that strand, through the back loop to create the increased stitch. Next, I'm going to work a centered double decrease, a CDD. So you slip 2 together knitwise, knit 1, pass the 2 slipped stitches over, purl 1, same thing again, a centered double decrease. So I slip 2 stitches together knitwise, knit 1, pass the 2 slipped stitches over, purl 1, centered double decrease, knit 2, slip 2 together knitwise, knit 1, pass the 2 slip stitches over. And then before I move on to my I-cord edge, I'm creating an increase with a make 1 right increase. And again, the strand that you're looking to lift is lower than you would expect it to be, because those stitches that you're working into were slipped on the previous row. So the strand is down here. I'm picking it up this time from back to front, and then I'm going to be purling through the front loop. And then I work my I-cord edge. Okay, then the next 3 rows, which are rows 10 to 12, you're working the I-cord edge, and then essentially between the I-cord edges, you're working half twisted rib. So on the wrong side, you're working that as knit 1 and then purl 1 through the back loop, knit 1, purl 1 through the back loop. And then on the right side rows, you'll be working the stitches between the I-cord edge as knit 1 through the back loop and purl 1. You do that for 3 rows, 1 wrong side row, 1 right side row, and then another wrong side row. Okay, so I've worked to the end of row 12 and I'm ready to start row 13. Now row 13 is another increase row. It's worked in a really similar way to row 7, where you picked up a knit into the stitches and between the stitches. The difference with row 13 is that you are just picking up between each of the stitches in the main body of your shawl and not into the stitches themselves. So I've worked the I-cord edge, and then you're looking to pick up a knit into the space between the stitches 2 strands below the row you're currently working. So 1, 2, and you want to go into that space to pick up a knit, yarn over, pick up a knit into the same space again. Then you purl the next stitch on your left needle, and then you repeat the same process again. So you're looking to go 2 strands below where you're currently working, pick up a knit, yarn over, pick up a knit, and you'll repeat that until you reach the I-cord edge. Okay, and when you reach the I-cord edge, you're going to pick up a knit 1 more time, 2 strands below, pick up a knit, yarn over, pick up a knit. So you repeat that process 1 more time, and then you work the I-cord edge. Okay, I'm going to turn to the wrong side row, and from this point on, the rows that you're working are exactly the same as your first set of increases that you worked from row 8 onwards. So we're going to slip 3 with yarn in front, knit 1, slip 3 with yarn in front, and so on. The following row, which will be row 15, you work the make 1 left purled after the I-cord edge, and then you work your centered double decreases, and then after that you've got 3 rows of the half twisted rib to work in between the I-cord edge. Okay, so I've worked to the end of row 18 here. So you can see I did my pick up and knits here, center double decrease, followed by 3 rows of the half twisted rib knitting. I'm ready to move on to row 19. I'm not going to show you all of this though, because rows 19 to 24 are just a repeat of rows 13 to 18. So I'll just show you the very start. You'll work your I-cord edge and then you'll start doing the pick up and knits again into the space 2 rows below the stitches that you're currently working. So you look for the space, 2 rows down, and you pick up and knit into that space, yarn over, pick up and knit into the same space again. Purl 1, and you'll continue with that same pattern until you reach the I-cord edge. The rows that follow, rows 20 to 24, are exactly the same as you worked back down here in rows 14 to 18. So if you work those, and then I'll come back to show you what it looks like when that's all finished. Okay, so I've worked to the end of row 24. I'm just popping back to show you what you end up with. I'm going to move the stitches onto the cable because then you can really open them up and show that semicircular shape developing there. And for anyone who's wondering, this yarn is Miss Lamotte and it's her luster base. And I'm working here with the colourway Birthday Cake.